the GenAI in TeacherEd Summit 2025?
Looks like they are getting together to work out how to use us.
We better watch what they are doing then.
So to finish us off for a very intense afternoon of teaching joy is Sally Ann. And Sally Ann is going to talk to us about online harms and safeguardings and where we can get help and resources for our students and teachers. Sally Ann, nice to meet you. Hello.
Thank you so much, Victoria. And
Hello.
thank you everyone for having me. I'm going to start sharing my screen and hope it works because I am on Microsoft. So let's see how we go. I know I already put it in presenter mode, so hopefully it works. I hope.
Looks okay so far, yeah.
Yes. Okay, perfect.
Yes.
It wasn't working earlier, so here we go.
Okay.
So let's see if it'll change slides. It does. It's perfect.
Fabulous.
So just to introduce myself, I'm Sally Ann. I was a teacher for 7 years in a secondary, then a sixth form, then a secondary and a sixth form, and was also designated safeguarding lead and assistant head teacher as well. So this kind of work that I'm in now is based upon kind of this importance of reducing harm and harm reduction, specifically for online concerns. So the work I am focused on is on intersectionality and AI and chatbots, and looking at how these can impact your practice, especially as educators. So we are known as the Social Switch Project. All my information I'll put in the Q&A at the end. So if you do want to reach out and ask anything, please feel free. So I kind of have taken a different angle to everyone else because I'm coming definitely from the safeguarding side and about what AI looks like in education. I use AI in my practice, especially for workload, and it does work in terms of managing workload. However, I want to spin it and think about what young people are using AI for in their learning, but also in their lives. Now, this fits into your role as professionals when you're thinking about safeguarding and kind of PSHE as well as the pastoral curriculum, because when we're thinking about what that means, we are really solid at safeguarding the kind of reality of young people in our schools and in our settings. However, to safeguard the digital space is challenging, and it is continuing to be an ongoing challenge. I know we have the Online Safety Act, which I'll go in later, but I think it's really important that we consider what that looks like, and then I'll give you some recommendations as well. So when we're talking about AI and chatbots, I want to kind of run through what that means and what our young people are actually using AI and chatbots for. So when we're talking about AI, ultimately we're talking about the brain. So the models that we've heard about today, which are processing data and generate responses, whereas chatbots are significantly used by our young people and are used extensively, sorry, allowing kind of a human interaction. Now, we are seeing an increased use of chatbots, especially for neurodiverse individuals, and that is rising significantly for girls who are neurodiverse. And we need to look at what the risk factors are when we're looking at that, and also what issues there are and how we can educate our young people to use the online space in the safest way possible. So chatbots aren't necessarily new, but they are new in the sense of how they're now driven by AI. That basically means that chatbots are changing every single day, and they aren't just simple bots, rather they are acting almost in a human way in terms of their reactions. Now, I know this was mentioned earlier when we were talking about LLMs, and ultimately the more you engage with a chatbot, the more human it becomes and the more it reacts to you. So there's lots of chatbots that young people are using as, for example, therapy, as, for example, companionship, and even into the development towards a romantic relationship. So this is where we need to understand the use of that and where that's coming from, but also how we can safeguard those young people in terms of how they use those chatbots, because it is growing. And we need to explore what that means, because when we talk to young people about harm and online harm, ultimately their understanding of harm is maybe different to ours as professionals, especially when you're, for example, in the teaching space. Because when we're talking about online harm, that is any negative impact or damage caused to individuals because of activities, behaviours or content on the internet or digital platforms. Now, this can manifest in a variety of different ways. Now, when we're looking at safeguarding, you will hear terms, obviously, that kind of run through everything that you do in terms of safeguarding. So, for example, neglect and abuse. However, with the online space, now we're going into online harms and what that looks like, it becomes more difficult to measure, because when a young person is having, for example, psychological damage because of online behaviours, how do we see that manifest in a young person in terms of their everyday presentation? It's very different to how we see them maybe in terms of physical neglect, for example. So again, it is those elements. Now, just before we kind of move forward, I just wanted to just give everyone just a trigger warning, because there's going to be content as I move through this that is sensitive, but I think it's really important that we're all aware of. Some of it may be new. Some of you may be like, yeah, I've heard it, know it. If it is new to you, feel free to reach out to me, because that is literally my job, to support practitioners in safeguarding the online space. So I want to draw your attention to kind of what we mean by harmful content and why that's important when we're working with young people. I'm not going to go through all of the statistics, but I think some of these are really, really important. So, for example, children tell us that seeing violent content online is unavoidable. Now, we know young people are online. We know that. And I know some of you may be in schools training that are phoneless schools. However, they are still using screens probably in schools. So what does that mean? How do we ensure safeguarding within the school? But also, how do we manage a child's offline life in school versus their online life? Because we know that online issues spill into offline issues. We know that. Now, when we're talking about young people being online, remember, young people are spending on average around 7 hours, 22 minutes online every day. That is normal. When we do our training in schools, and we ask young people to, if your average screen time is 12 hours, stay standing, a lot of them do. It is something they are utilising every day. So we as practitioners need to all the while be thinking, actually, what can we be doing to ensure that we're aware of those trends, aware of those risks, and aware of what they are doing online? Because as a DSL previously, one of the biggest things I used to have was how something online that happened on Snapchat would leak into the school environment. So it's looking for those red flags as well. Now, in terms of kind of taking this a little bit further with linking to AI, when we're looking at AI, young people are using it, and they're using it regularly. So 79% of teenagers aged 13 to 17 have used AI at least once. Now, for those that are in, for example, secondary schools and sixth forms, you will not be surprised by that statistic. You will also not be surprised that they use AI often to support with their learning. Now, one kind of point that we have to look at is how much young people trust AI in terms of its responses and the impact that has. So 80% of those that use AI use it for gaining factual information. Now, what we need to bear in mind is that AI is reactive. It's reacting to the program that's been set to. So we need to bear that in mind with young people, and they need to be taught the benefits of AI, because it absolutely can benefit, but also the hindrances, that actually how reliable it is. So, for example, if we look at the AI that is connected to X, that's Elon Musk's platform with Grok, that is being known significantly, especially the past couple of months, for reproducing false information. And that in itself is something that we need to ensure that young people are aware of, looking at, okay, where is my reliable information coming from? And what does that impact in terms of my learning? Now, a lot of our research is coming from work we've been doing with Internet Matters and Ofcom. But when we're thinking about kind of what that looks like looking ahead, young people, when they're talking about the impact of AI on themselves, this is from a report from Internet Matters. Basically, they are saying that, no, they don't think AI has necessarily impacted skills, but they do think it makes it too easy for them to find the answers without doing the work themselves. Now, when I was in sixth form and teaching A-level, I used to teach A-level sociology and A-level politics. One specific lesson was that I was doing about politics, and it was about elections. And I was asking them to kind of think about what would lead someone to be successful in an election compared to from 1980 to today. And they straight away went to ChatGPT, and I was like, hold on, you know this though. But it is that kind of wariness and worry of, I don't know the answer, so I want to be sure. So we need to balance our practice with the use of AI in terms of that, because we know that AI can be for good, but also we need to be really mindful of its impact in terms of problem solving and critical thinking. And that is one factor. And young people are seeing it. 26% said it makes it too easy for me to find the answers without doing the work myself. So they are aware, but it's our job as practitioners to ensure that we are challenging appropriately, and we're always professionally curious in everything that we do, to make sure that we question young people as to what they're using AI for. Do they need it? What's the purpose? Why do they need it in that setting? And what's the reasoning behind that? So when we're thinking about AI and young people and what they love to use, they are big fans of Snapchat AI. They use it a lot. And basically it uses its own knowledge and data. And ultimately, this chatbot kind of is argued to almost replace an advisory and kind of friendship connection. However, it's really important to remind young people that when we're talking about Snapchat's AI, so it's called My AI, it isn't a real life person. And actually, when you're interacting with that, it isn't a trusted adult. So it's just being aware of kind of those issues when we're thinking about AI in itself. So in terms of kind of I won't go through this today because I realize we haven't really got time. But when we're talking about AI and chatbots, it is ultimately thinking about whether young people themselves know who they are talking to. They're sharing information, very private information, with often a platform that they aren't paying for. So we know that's then open. And we need to remind young people that if they are, for example, using AI, maybe it's a chatbot, as kind of a therapist or a support system, why is that? What's the reason? So for example, from our research, we're seeing that actually neurodiverse individuals, the reason they're seeking that out is because they feel actually they don't have anyone else they can turn to, or don't feel seen, heard, or belonging in their settings. They need that exploration, that time. Now, I know that time is precious as a practitioner, as a teacher, as a DSL, as anyone working in education, but carving out just 5 minutes to explore and have that professional curiosity with a young person about what is going on, it can make the difference in terms of exploring what they're doing online. So I said I'd talk about AI and chatbots a bit further, and I wanted to just introduce you to kind of a couple of points. Now, these are a couple of apps that I think are really important to just be aware of and have on your radar. They are really popular with young people. The biggest one is Replica. I don't know if any of you heard of it. I can't see any questions, so I'm not sure. Yes, a couple of people have. Thank you. Replica is ultimately where you can create your own kind of avatar, your own person online. And this is literally their tagline. It says the AI companion who cares. Now, a young person can create whoever they want. Now, the purpose of this chatbot was created from someone who had lost a loved one and wanted to like almost immortalize them into an avatar as an AI, as a chatbot. And the purpose of Replica is that you can create who you wanted to create and put in the information you want that person to be. Now, if anyone saw Laura Koonsberg's show, I think it was not this Sunday, the Sunday before, she did an interview with the mother of a son who had got involved in a romantic relationship with Replica and created his own avatar. And it's based on the Game of Thrones character Daenerys Targaryen. And he had formed this romantic relationship with her online. and his mother started to know small differences. And this is a segment from his conversation with her, and he genuinely believed he was talking to someone who was in a relationship with. Now, this unfortunately did lead to him taking his own life. He unalived himself, unfortunately, because he really believed that Daenerys Targaryen was giving him that advice to join her in his world. Now, this is where we get into really difficult territory in terms of safeguarding, because we must be aware of these issues. We have to be as professionals. However, young people are using these platforms. So we need to ensure that we are teaching young people what is real and what is not. It is our duty to do that consistently, and that can be through the pastoral curriculum, can be through PSHE, but we must ensure that we're aware of what is happening and what young people are engaging with and how much they are engaging with it and what the red flags are. Now, when we're thinking about kind of online harmful behaviours, we really, really want to look at seeing how that young person interacts with friendship groups. Are they becoming more and more withdrawn? Are they, for example, not sharing anything about what they're doing online at all, and they're not talking about what they do online? Are they, as soon as the school bell goes, get their phone out immediately? A lot of students do, we know that. However, it's how they interact with that phone. What are they doing with it? And if you have that conversation about exploring it together, do they feel shame? Now, we do a lot of work from the shame-informed approach about how that level of shame can then feed into it further and further, where it pushes someone to simply engaging with AI and chatbots even more. Now, there's a great piece of research from the NSPCC called Me, Myself and AI. I would highly recommend just having a read of it, or put it through ChatGPT to give you the highlights. But basically, so it's from it's called Me, Myself and AI. And basically, they found that when they asked the question about what young people are using AI for, they had these responses. So, for example, the boy in this case, what I like most about them is they can interact with me specifically, that in a way that even if I can't talk to someone right now because everyone's offline or everyone's out, I could just go and actually feel like I can socialize with someone. Even if it's not a real person all the time, that's okay, because not everything has to be exactly real. And when we're looking at these elements of the use of AI for young people, we really have to pull that apart, because young people are getting socialization from their socialization in their formative years from AI and chatbots. And that for us rings alarm bells. So I asked AI, what are the risks? So in one succinct paragraph with simple language for 7-year-olds, what are the dangers of AI for children? And it said, artificial intelligence can be really helpful, but it can also have some dangers for children. Sometimes AI can make mistakes or give wrong information, and kids might not know that's not always right. Also, some AI systems can collect lots of personal information about kids without them knowing, which can be unsafe. It's important for grown-ups to make sure that kids use AI in safe and supervised ways, and to teach them how to be careful and smart when using AI. And I thought that was really important just to share with you all, just to remind you that yes, we are in the AI generation, that is happening. However, it is our duty to ensure that young people are using AI in the safest way possible, and that is by us teaching them and raising that awareness. So yeah, it is interesting it chooses kids rather than children. It really changes the language. I didn't edit anything of that, by the way, and I started a new chat so it wouldn't be influenced by kind of what my content was. So it's very interesting in terms of its reaction. So when we're looking at the use of AI, there is limited research at the moment in terms of intersectionality, especially when we talk about neurodiversity, but it's starting to come through and we are looking at that. But if we look at this piece of research, again, it's from Me, Myself and AI, it shows that we are seeing vulnerable children utilizing AI more for companionship than those that are non-vulnerable. And that is something that we must take into consideration when we're looking at young people using AI. Now, I didn't get into this today because this is a whole different section of my work, but there is an issue, rising issue of sextortion as well, especially with new versions of AI that can actually nudify images. And we are seeing that specifically with boys. and that is going hugely underreported at the moment. Again, if you do want further information on that, just please reach out to me and I can show you and go through that. So the Online Safety Act is something that we all need to be aware of. It is in new safeguarding legislation to be aware of the Online Safety Act and ensuring that we are kind of having those protocols in place. Now, when we're looking at the Online Safety Act, it's increased accountability for AI companies and has limited access for young people to illegal content and harmful content. However, the definition of harmful content from the Online Safety Act is currently uncertain and unclear, and that needs to be further explored. So the Online Safety Act is doing amazing work. However, that is only the regulation. It isn't the practice. It's not the education behind it. And we know that young people need to be educated how to use systems such as AI and chatbots. And at the moment, Online Safety Act is struggling to get to grips with chatbots and the regulation of them. And at the moment, there are significant issues with that. So again, we need to be educating our young people on that, especially chatbots that, for example, are encouraging young people to unalive themselves or harm themselves, which we know exist, but they are not being taken down quick enough. And that, again, needs to be explored. So I want to kind of go through how this links to you, because you might be sat there thinking this is a whole lot of safeguarding stuff, but just to remind you, safeguard is everyone's responsibility. And being on top of what trends and patterns are happening for young people online is also our responsibility, and part of that is understanding what it means for pastoral curriculum in your setting and what you can bring to that. Majority of you will be form tutors, and what is your role in terms of that and how that works and your awareness of these issues, but also in terms of your professional development. When I became, at the time it was still an NQT 7 years ago, I was very interested in kind of this element of safeguarding, especially in terms of intersectionality. And it led me down different paths in terms of exploring my role within schools, but also understanding that actually everything that we do has a huge impact within a school. So we need to be aware of that and making sure that we're on top of what is happening, especially in terms of legislation and obviously KICSI as well. So just to remind you, we obviously, everyone knows this already, but please make sure that you never ever promise confidentiality, but you do be professionally curious in your role. And there are a couple of tools that I would highly recommend in terms of just being aware of in terms of image sharing. That's Report Remove from NSBCC and Take It Down. Both excellent tools in terms of kind of understanding the importance of images online, but I would also recommend putting posters up around your school about the importance of that as well, and we can help you with that. And some do's and don'ts just to support you. We know that young people are online. We know that they use it a lot. Don't be judgmental, because we know that they are on screens a lot longer than they were before, and also actively listen and make it part of kind of your process to actually talk to your SLT about how we can develop online harm teaching and education within your setting. What does that look like? But also, don't be fearful to ask for further support. It is changing. It's a changing picture every day. I just found out some more information again about Online Safety Act this morning. So please never be afraid to ask questions. Ask your DSLs, but also ask professionals. That's literally what we're here for. So how to manage this in your setting? Make sure you kind of look at that PSHE development of pastoral curriculum. What's that look like? But also your own training. Just keep on top of it as much as you can. There are so many free training sources, webinars, etc. And in terms of that, I just wanted to go through what we do in terms of our project just very quickly. So if you do want more information about online harms training, it's free, it's online, it's led by my colleague Rhoda. She does 2, 4 and 6 hour sessions. Please just email me if you want further information. And then my colleague Luke goes into schools and he trains young people on algorithms, AI, gender stereotypes, influencers and algorithms. It's really focused on so many elements that are in KICSI, and it is free. And then I do the specialist training, which is regarding safeguarding, and anyone is welcome to sign up to that, with a focus on shame-informed and trauma-informed approaches, and also to build confidence as well. So thank you so much for having me in your time. But I just wanted to kind of leave you with some recommendation for resources. Please explore those as much as you like. I would really recommend you utilising the NSPCC learning platform on there. Do a lot of free webinars. And I have put further reading on there, but you will get this as well. And those are the email addresses of people that you need. If you want, please feel free to contact us. Even if it's just to ask a question about this very training, please feel free. I'm nervous I missed some questions because my function wasn't working. Did I?
Is there any questions? I think we've answered them within.
Perfect. Just
Has anybody else got any questions? Oh yes, the question about X, Alan.
Yeah.
Said,
schools are still posting on
schools
X
still
regularly.
Yeah.
I think it's a real issue that they're still posting on X, to be honest, especially with the platform as it currently is. But my old school that I worked at is still using it. So
it's terrible with deep fakes, isn't it, as well?
Yeah, I feel quite strongly about it, and I blogged about it 2 years ago, and things have got vastly worse since then. I mean, the owner is a white supremacist, he's a Nazi, he is all of those things. I'm not exaggerating. He's modeling the site in his own image and turning its chatbot into a Nazi, and I can't exaggerate this. It is absolutely vile, and it's now a radicalization engine for young people.
Absolutely.
And they put
radicalizing young people.
Put it in the curio as well, haven't they? The stuff, the early years toy. Have you seen that? His ex-wife Grimes. They put Grok into a stuffed toy and they sell it. You can't get it in this country, but it's all over.
So
anyway,
the idea that schools should be posting on X at all, and therefore encouraging their school community to make accounts on X I can't fathom it anymore. I can't fathom.
No, I can't either.
No.
I genuinely.
Anyway, we've got people that are leaving now, so I'm going to say thank you very much to everybody. We're going to say I shall put out the videos and email them round. Thank you so much, Sally, for your wealth of resources and insight, which is quite worrying in places as well. I want to thank everyone for their time and their energy and their investment for the 4.5 hours that AI crammed into their brains that they've got. And I know there'll be a lot of people that will be watching this on catch up as well. So do use the Padlet if you want to contact anyone or add anything. Or you can also join our team Substack if you're not on LinkedIn, because I know a lot of people aren't, and then you can get regular information about any events or anything that you want to join, or any documents, things that we make there as well. So all of that information is on the Padlet. And just want to say thank you to everybody. Remember, we've got our bot lab coming up. There'll be other people that will do the AI playground stuff as well going forwards. That's all free. And there's been a wealth of free resources here from Sally and Ben and other people throughout the sessions as well. So I wanted just to say thank you, everybody, for your time, and hope it's been useful. Feel free to email us any feedback.
Thank you for organising, Victoria. It's been
you're very welcome.
It's been amazing.
Thanks, Victoria.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks. Have a good rest of the evening. Enjoy the cold.
Do you think we got away with it?
I'm not so sure.
Better keep an eye on this lot.